Everybody, what's up? We got the Rock Rebellion again. Reggie Evers coming to you straight from Indianapolis, Indiana. On the phone with Eric Hunker coming straight from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Big week in rock and metal this last week, last 2 weeks. Not a lot, but some really heavy stuff. I guess the big thing is that, a lot of big things, but the first one is Mayhem Festival lineup seems to have leaked online this last week, and typically these leaks tend to be less than accurate, so it naturally should be taken with a grain of salt, but somebody tweeted Kevin Lyman, the organizer of Mayhem, asking if the lineup was true, and he said it is. And so some of the bands may be somewhat interchangeable, but looks like we got Avenged Sevenfold, Korn, Asking Alexandria, Trivium, Cannibal Corpse, Suicide Silence, Miss May I, Mushroomhead, Immure, Texas Hippie Coalition, Veil of Maya, Upon a Burning Body, Darkest Hour, Body Count, Il Nino, Wretched, Sister Sin, and Islander. Quite an eclectic bill and lineup there. What's the one that sticks out to you the most for at least Mayhem is concerned?
How's that again?
What's the one that reached the point that sticks out to you the most as far as Mayhem Festival is concerned out of all of those bands?
I don't know, man. I mean, all of them, in their own way, fit on there very, very well. But for me, there are certain ones that are, really outstanding. Like Mushroomhead has always been a favorite of mine, so obviously I'd love to see them again. Upon a Burning Body, another one of my favorite newer bands.
To me, Texas Hippie Coalition is the one that sticks out the most, I think, just because you see them on a Mayhem Festival.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that Texas Hippie, they're a favorite band of mine in the first place, so that's kind of curious. But Body Count, that's pretty substantial, I think, as the absolute oddest. That's pretty heavy. With the passing of Mitch from Suicide Silence, to see them on there, that's going to be interesting. Asking Alexandria, they're making headway all the time. Immure is a very solid band. Darkest Hour, Veil of Maya, I like them. El Nino, really like them. Sister Sin, a new upcoming band with a female singer that's got a really, really just back to basics raw rock edge that I'm really enjoying. So if that's the true lineup, that's actually pretty solid.
Islander is brand new. They don't even have a full-length album out yet, just a short EP that was released back in, I think, October of last year, maybe November. If people aren't familiar with them, they are going to probably be the dark horse and the sleeper of the Mayhem Festival this upcoming year if they are truly on it. They put on one of the most high-energy shows you'll see. Very impressive live, and Body Count is probably the oddest one because it's metal but rap-based. And so you wouldn't expect to see a rap-based band on Mayhem, so that's going to be obviously Korn has some elements, but Body Count is like right there in your face, and that should be interesting. Immure was on it last year, of course. Mushroomhead, it's almost surprising that they haven't been on it yet. The only thing that could be more interesting is if, with Mushroomhead being on it, if they could actually find a way to do the Slipknot, Gwar, Mushroomhead, Mudvayne tour and fit it on Mayhem that they've been talking about for like 8 years. That would be interesting, I think. But that'll never happen, though.
Probably not, but it would be outstanding because pretty much all the fans for those four bands that you just mentioned are interchangeable. They all enjoy each other's stuff, although there's always the issues of who did the mask thing first.
Most of the fans are pretty interchangeable, but there are the die-hard purist fans that, the hardcore maggots are like, no, we started, and then the Mushroomhead fans, they're the same way. And there's a video of Corey Taylor talking about, when Slipknot first came out, talking about that on one of his solo dates. That's on YouTube, but I watched a couple times. It's just funny to watch him talk about that rivalry. And the bands don't even care anymore. It's just the fans. So
no. But you know what? That's who benefits. If that or whatever happened, everybody's going to go out there and try to outdo one another. They're going to be on at the top of their game to try to really, really set the standard. So the fans are the ones who benefit in the end.
And if we're going to do that, might as well put Hollywood Undead on there, too, because they wear the masks as well. And they have a bit of a rock influence, too, so that might fit as maybe an opener. I mean, they were able to do Family Values this year, so...
Well, then we got to throw Ghost on there, man. You got to have the Nameless Ghouls, right?
Yeah, Ghost would be on there. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a killer tour. It would probably have to be maybe a festival setting for it to be that big of a lineup and a bill. I mean, we could probably take Mudvayne off because they're completely broken up now with everyone doing their own different things. I mean, you could take Mudvayne out and throw Ghost or Hollywood, and probably Ghost would fit better. But it'd be an interesting one. The other big piece of news for this week was Queen and Adam Lambert announced their summer arena tour. And as far as I know, this is the first full tour that Queen and Adam Lambert have been doing together. This one coming up. It's the hardcore Queen fans aren't going to be too happy about it, I don't think. But it's interesting.
It is. You know, when I heard this, I went and I looked up some performances of Adam doing a couple Queen songs, and he does do a very good job. He has a solid voice. But I would have thought that if Queen was going to go out and do a full-blown thing, they would have either gone with Paul Rodgers again, or if they were going to recruit somebody new, it would have been nice to see him pull in somebody really, really special who can really, really do the Queen stuff justice. Say maybe a Jeff Scott Soto or someone like that who really, really could drive it home. Although, I could be totally wrong and be put in my place, and Adam may go out there and really knock it out of the park. It's on the fence on that. You know what I mean? It's not that the guy doesn't have the chops. He has vocal chops. He can sing. But filling the boots of Freddie Mercury, oh my God, I mean, you can put the World Trade Center in those boots. That's huge.
I think that to fill the boots of Freddie Mercury, first off, it's never going to happen. No one will ever be able to do that and live up to that reputation that Freddie had. But for it to be anywhere near accepted in the rock community, I think that they're going to need to bring somebody out like they did with Paul Rodgers, somebody who has built up a reputation and a legacy in the rock world and rock community that's respected and has built that up. Adam Lambert comes from a completely different genre and style of music and background than Queen. I mean, Queen and American Idol don't fit together for the most part. It's a pop singing competition, not a rock singing competition. That's why there's really been no rock artists come out that have been successful that won American Idol. Daughtry didn't win. He was voted off. So, I mean...
James, what's his name? James...
Durbin,
he got voted off.
I think that it would have to be, you know, they did a great move with Paul Rodgers, and Jeff Scott Soto would be great, like you said, but, you know, and Adam Lambert could do very well, and he probably will, but it's not going to be looked at in a very good light in the rock community by the diehard rock fans and metalheads. Especially not longtime Queen fans. It's a very questionable...
It's not just filling the vocal abilities of Freddie, it's the charisma and the charm that Freddie had. His command of the crowd. I mean, this Adam kid is okay, but can he really, really, really hold a 25,000-seat arena in the palm of his hand?
He's so young. I mean, playing to that big of a crowd and audience, you know, you almost have to bring somebody in that's not going to feel any sort of nervousness going into that situation. Adam Lambert, he's played in front of millions of people, but that's on television. He's never had that experience. He hasn't really, in all honesty, hasn't toured a whole hell of a lot either, I don't think. He hasn't paid his dues enough to really earn the spot of singing with Queen. At least not in my book.
I think it's an odd choice. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall during the talks for that to see how that actually came to pass.
Mm-hmm. The only thing he has anywhere near in common with Freddie Mercury is his sexuality, and that's it. I mean, and
but you know what? That Freddie. His sexuality actually drove a good bit of his performance, although a lot of people didn't really get get it or understand where it was coming from. There was definitely a raw sexuality in his performance every night.
Absolutely.
Which may work to Lambert's advantage, but it's still, like you say, he's young. He's never really played to those bigger crowds on a regular basis. And even when he did, it was usually a song or two. Like you said, he didn't do a full-blown performance. That's a heavy load, and I don't know if he's ready for it.
He'll be playing almost 2 hours a night, if not an hour and a half at the shortest. I mean, is he even conditioned enough to take on that responsibility playing day after day for that long with sound checks and rehearsals, meet and greets, press, media? There's so much more that goes into a tour now, day to day, than there was, 20 years ago. Not that he was around 20 years ago, but when people get into that profession, they don't realize or understand exactly what all goes into that, what goes into the day of, a singer and a musician on tour. And I think it's going to be a rude awakening for him, and he could surprise everybody. He could do very well. But for the Queen fans who are going to go, and just for the sake of the Queen legacy, I hope to God that he does surprise everyone and really do something special. But there's so many fans out there that unfortunately don't care who the singer is. They don't care who's in the band. They want to hear the songs that they like. That's why Leonard Skinner is still around today, because people don't care who's in the band. They just want to see the songs that they love to listen to. I mean, unless it's something...
The old bands from the 70s that are still on the road, there's one or two core members that remain, and everybody else are pretty much just hired guns.
Like Foghat.
Like you say, the demand is so great that they're still out on the road because the fans just want to hear the tunes.
And Queen isn't one of those bands that tours every year either. They go a good 5, 6, 7 years in between major tours, which I think works to their advantage as well, especially with this situation, because it's been so long since the core members have toured that the fans that want to see them or that have never seen them, as long as they've got some original members, a lot of fans aren't going to really care who the singer is. Which is unfortunate, I think.
Yeah. In a lot of bands I don't care, but there's certain bands that the legacy and the persona is so big that it's hard for me to see anybody else in that role.
And
Queen happens to be one of them. It's like trying to put Led Zeppelin back out there without Robert Plant singing it. You know what I mean? Or the Stones without Mick Jagger.
Aerosmith without Steven Tyler.
It's just hard to think of.
That's why Motley Crue didn't work out with John Corabi, who is a great singer. It's just it wasn't Vince Neil.
Yeah, it wasn't Vince Neil, and it's a shame because to this day that is one of my favorite albums by Crue, and it's by far the heaviest everything that they ever recorded.
And Kurt Vanderhoof just mentioned that on that metal show that he loved it.
Yeah, he actually chose Hooligans Holiday, which still isn't even my favorite song off of that album. There's some really strong stuff on there, but the fact that he did that, I thought that was great that he actually gave John the nod there.
Well, I mean, that's another reason, after talking with Dale from Bride, that Dale didn't take over for Michael Sweet in Stryper. He came very close, but when Michael left, he even said, looking back on it, it wouldn't be Stryper without Michael Sweet. There are certain bands that if the singer leaves or the singer dies, it's okay to tour for a little bit, but you reach a point that, does it almost tarnish the legacy of the band and damage their legacy to continue touring? Does it, not erase, but does it kind of put a dent in what they've done, take it to a lower level, touring repeatedly with a different singer and compromising that legacy just to tour and be in front of people? I don't know.
To a certain degree it does. I mean, I've gone to see a few of my heroes who I didn't get the opportunity to see in my younger days for whatever reason, and quite a few times they've still really got it, and it's like, wow, that was shocking. They're still really good, but more often than not, you are kind of let down, and it's like, geez, you have to start to wonder what brought the decision, because, like you say, if you're not going to do it any justice, you should just hang it up.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, the final tidbit of news for this week. Tool, who knows if the album is actually done? Apparently, Adam mentioned in a meet and greet with the fan at one of their shows, which is amazing. The band is touring right now at all. But the new Tool album is, quote-unquote, done and will be out later this year. Then, a couple days later, came out and tweeted a fan saying, "What I said yesterday, add in just kidding." Who knows what the hell is going on with Tool anymore? I mean, they've been saying for years the album's done, or the album's close to being done. And year after year, we get nothing. They've been saying ever since mid-2013 that the new album would come out this year. Now they're saying next year. I mean, come on.
It's getting to be, it's starting to turn into the Chinese democracy situation. Everybody wants it so desperately. My whole thing with this little supposed leak or story with the Tool thing is, why, after years of silence and not going to a major publication, would Adam say something so random to just a fan? You got to wonder how much of that had any truth or validity behind it. Or if it's just, like I say, the usual, the desperations of the fans who want it so bad that they're willing to believe anything because they're just dying for it.
I think Tool have a certain sense of humor about them, especially Maynard does, where people don't always pick up on the sarcasm in what they say. It could have been one of those things where a fan was like, "Hey man, when's this album coming out?" And he's like, "It's done, it'll be out this year, whatever." And he was kidding, but the fan, it's been how long since the last record? 7 years?
Yeah.
Came out, what, 06? 8 years, I think?
Yeah.
I mean, fans are just...
a long time, man.
Fans are just, we all love Tool, but just like everybody loved Guns N' Roses, the side bands don't cut it, Pussifer, A Perfect Circle, they're good, but they're not Tool. Just like Slash's Snake Pit, Velvet Revolver, they were good. They're not Guns N' Roses,
No.
And until we get that one album we've been waiting for, no one's going to be happy. And I know creativity and art, you can't rush it, but from what I understand, they've had the instrumentals done for a while. They've been waiting on Maynard to come in and lay down the vocals for it. He's been so wrapped up in his winery and his other bands that he's just taking his own, sweet time coming in to put them, lay down the vocals. Which is why Corey Taylor only has one other band besides Slipknot, not two. Because when the rest of the band is ready, he wants to be able to get in and put the vocals in. I think.
Yeah, the real bummer of it all is it again, it goes back to the Chinese democracy, because the longer you wait, we're up to 8 years already. The longer you wait, the pressure for that album to deliver becomes heavier and heavier, and the weight bears down. And whether the songs are done or rather they're still writing them, that puts unbelievable pressure on that band to put out something that has to be, interstellar. It has to be otherworldly at this point, you know what I mean? And to deliver that on any level for any new band or any seasoned band, that's hell, man. That's rough. And that's going to be the big problem with this album, because if it does come out and it truly is one of the most remarkable Tool albums, the fact that it's been so long, there's still going to be those doubters and those haters who are going to want to fucking bash it for whatever their self-deluded reasons are.
Yeah, definitely. Chinese Democracy wasn't a horrible album as a whole. It's just it took so long to put out. The fans had such high expectations for it that there was no possible way it was going to live up to anything remotely realistic.
No, they would have had to have a batch of songs that was actually better than Appetite for Destruction to pull that off at that point, and it just wasn't going to happen. There was no way in hell, even if it was good, that Chinese Democracy would have been regarded as good, but it was a weak bunch of songs.
Yeah,
it wasn't great.
I think the only way that album could have been received well with fans is if, like you said, it had songs better than Appetite, which for Guns N' Roses will never happen again. And two, if it had
for
the
anybody
lineup,
Yeah, that album was a rare flash in the pan, perfect alignment of the planets almost. It was, it's like I say, it's otherworldly when those rare moments happen, and Appetite was one of those. And unfortunately for a band like Guns, who that really brought them to superstardom, and they had that 4-year run of richness, they were doomed from from the moment it came out as well, because an album that strong out of the gate is almost impossible to better or duplicate. Although it's and for some bands, that's a good thing, because it drives them to always try. But for Guns, the bar was set so high, there was no way they could hurdle it again.
There's certain albums that a band will release that are their downfall, I think. You know, the Black Album is Metallica's Appetite for Destruction. They'll never put out something that fans will think is better than the Black Album, or anything that came before the Black Album, I think. Because
it's sad, because the Black Album really isn't their best, but you know, in terms of sales and how many fans it brought in, it is, but
yeah, exactly.
The early stuff is actually superior.
I think Tool has the luxury, though, that no matter how long it takes to put out an album, there's going to be the majority of their fans, 90% of them, are going to worship that album no matter what, because it's Tool. I mean, they could put dog barks and cat meows on an album, probably, and their fans would worship that album. Just, they love everything that Tool does, and they find art in it somehow. Not that they've ever put out anything that's bad, but they could, and fans would dig it, I think.
It's not just the fact that they're Tool, it's that way for any album. Fans are so fickle that once they've decided that this is the best that band can do, that band is doomed in that fan's eyes, because they can never live up to it again, because that's all they want to hear over and over again from that point on.
I think a lot of fans are looking for another Lateralis from Tool right now. That's the album that most Tool fans love the most, and I think that the longer it takes to put this new album out, I mean, it could be another 4 years. Who knows? I mean, no matter what, fans are going to expect it to be that album or better. But they're still going to go see him live and support him, because they want to see those songs that they love.
Oh, absolutely. If Tool hit Pittsburgh for any reason whatsoever, I would fight someone, you know, physically in the line to get that last ticket if I had to.
Oh, by far. So, I mean, what is it going to take for this Tool album to be good in fans' eyes? That's the question. And I guess...
that's the problem. In fans' eyes, it's never going to happen. They just got to make the best album they can.
Yeah. It's just... I think that fans are just getting pissed off now, because, I mean, I think since 2008 or 2009, Tool's been saying that they're working on the album. Which, I mean, it's ridiculous, because it's 2014. Which earlier tonight I thought it was 2004 for some reason, but it is 2014, I found out. Don't know why I thought that. But hopefully this Tool record comes out. I guess another thing is that on that metal show, Mick Mars, don't know if he was serious or not, mentioned that the new band he sees as the best new band doesn't exist because he hasn't formed it. He said he is absolutely forming a new band after Motley Crue. So I guess that adds to the fire that this really is Crue's last final tour. And what could we want to see from Mick Mars after Motley Crue? Can he even do anything that's good after Motley Crue?
You know what? Mick is such a versatile player, and he's one of those guys that gets so underrated and so overlooked. And he even touched on at that metal show. For him, it wasn't about the virtuosity; it was about the tone, and it was about the songs. And I think that no matter what Mick does, it's going to have strong songs. The problem is he going to be able to surround himself with players who can do those songs justice and find a vocalist that people will be able to latch on to deliver them. I think that's going to be the hard part for Mick. I think I take him at his word that he will be one of those guys who writes till the day he dies. Mick will be in his deathbed still scratching out things on a fucking sketch pad, you know what I mean? So he's always going to put out music, but I don't think you're ever going to see Mick tour behind that music again. You may get a one-off show here or there, because that's the basis and the main reason that Crue is done. Mick can't do it anymore physically, and they don't want to do it without him. So if Crue ever does go back on the road, that may happen out of whatever reason, but I don't think Mick Mars will ever be a part of it. So I think when he said on that metal show he's genuinely done, it's not going to happen. For him, I believe that's absolutely true. And everybody has to remember, Mick is much older than the rest of the guys in that band. Mick was playing in bands in the 70s when Motley Crue was still in high school. So Mick has got age as well as adversity and physicality problems. So I really think he is done, but he'll never stop making music. Never.
That could be the loophole Motley Crue needs to tour again, is they can never tour as Motley Crue. Crue. But they're one of those bands. If they tour and one of the members isn't there, they will not call it Motley Crue again because that never worked. That would be their way to be able to tour again without saying it's Motley Crue. Just tour without Mick under a different name, or like John and Bob from Petra did, call it Two Guys from Petra,
Yeah, something to that effect.
Couple guys from
it's kind of a tribute thing.
Yeah. The interesting thing is with Mick now living in Nashville, and they're supposedly coming out with a Motley Crue country tribute album. Maybe Mick Mars forms a country band after Motley Crue?
Stranger things have happened. I mean, Zakk Wylde went from Ozzy straight into Pride and Glory, which very much bordered on country. Mm-hmm. And at that point, every article you read about Zakk said he was going to start a country music career, but his metal roots overtook him, and he couldn't fight the demon inside. You know what I mean? It won him over.
Well, I mean, and then obviously there's Doyle and Jerry Only forming the Christian band after Misfits for a little bit, and then
stranger things have happened.
Lulu happened.
That's an abomination of the highest velocity. That is just bad.
What member was it Hammett said that he thought that Lulu was actually a good piece of work? He said that last year, I think. One of the members said that he doesn't understand why people don't like Lulu, and he thinks it was actually good.
I don't know. Maybe he wasn't listening to the same album we were.
Maybe they're back
everybody else said. Yeah, the general consensus from everybody seemed to be that it was just not good.
Yeah, it was crap. It was awful.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? Being the diehard Metallica fan that I am, everything that they put out, I put on and hope for the very best. But, wow, what a disappointment.
That's another band. How long is it going to take for this new Metallica album to get done? They've been saying for a year or two now that they're starting to write. And,
look how long it took them between Death Magnetic and Saint Anger.
Right. I mean, we're hearing conflicting reports, Lars saying it's going to be next year, Kirk saying, or Robert saying, oh, it has to be this year, the movie didn't work out, they're not doing Orion, they went to Antarctica, all they've got left is to make a freaking album, I guess. They're running out of...
At this point, that's all the fans care about.
I think one of them even said they're running out of excuses not to make another album.
The fans want to go. I mean, obviously, live, they're going to want that core soundtrack from Metallica, but fans want to see them go out and do something new. They want to see them revitalized and hear something new in the set.
Yeah, exactly. I mean...
At this point, everybody's heard the same old songs for so long. They want to. If you're going to see Metallica live, you want to hope for something that you haven't already heard.
Right. I mean, they've got the right idea. They even said they don't know if they want to tour the U.S. again because there's not much money in it. But I think that just like Tool, the longer they wait in between U.S. tours, the more money they'll make because the more people will come out because they've been waiting for so long. That's my thought on it. If they tour every year, obviously, they're not going to make as much money. That's probably why they weren't making much money the last time around, because they toured for like a year or two straight. But if they tour for a year, take a year or two off, tour for 6 months, take 3 years off, come back to a small tour, they'll make a lot of money.
It bums me out as a fan. That anymore it seems to be that money is the only decision that drives making new music or tours.
Yeah, well...
It's disheartening. I understand that everybody has to make a living, and with the music industry as a whole being the way that it is with downloads, Road Dogs are the only one who can really provide anymore. Right. But it's a shame that the main focus has become the monetary end of it rather than the performance delivered and the passion behind it.
Especially from a band like Metallica, who, look at their reputation and attitude when they started compared to now. It's no wonder fans are saying that they've sold out, that they're not the same band, because in a lot of ways they absolutely have sold out. It used to not be about money, it used to be just about the music, but that is the measure of success. If you want it to be your only job, you have to make money, and you have to do whatever you can to make the most money, but you still have to find a way to stay true to the art and the music, and in a lot of ways, bands aren't doing that anymore. It's just about money,
Yeah. And I think that's why you haven't seen the next great Metallica album, because back at the first 3 or 4 albums, those guys were driving and striving so hard. The radio hated them. They weren't getting any help from anybody in the industry. At that point, the industry as a whole was underground, and it was just begging for that breakthrough to give the big fuck you to the music industry. And when Metallica was writing that way and had that mentality, the quality of their product and the performance they gave was far superior. If they weren't so driven by money now, and they just went back and made an album for the sake of making a great album that, again, gives the big middle finger to the industry, you're never going to get that next great Metallica album or any great album from any other band until it stops being about the money and it's about the desire to just create the best album possible. It's not going to happen.
I don't know if certain bands have given up on creating that next great album, or if they're just happy with what they've done, or if they just don't feel like it's necessary anymore. You know, maybe they're afraid
if you're to that point, then do your fans and yourself a favor. Stop. Quit making music. If you're going to just offer your fans a lackluster performance and an inferior product because you're just doing it out of the necessity and the will to make that money, you're not doing your legacy or your fans any justice. Just stop. It's not fair. It's actually an insult to them. They deserve better. You have the lifestyle and the luxuries that are afforded you because of the fans who put you there. Rather, the industry has changed to the point where you can't make those same mega bucks you used to. Those fans are the ones who afforded you that. They deserve better, and you should give them more than what you do. If you've lost that passion, if you've lost that will, then just stop.
Or do what Kiss is doing, make music and do other business ventures at the same time. Kiss is, as much as they're assholes, you know, and only care about the money, they're still putting out quality music now, and at the same time doing their different business things. You know what I mean? They did the Motley Crue tour a couple years ago. They put out, what was it, Monster was the name of the album, which was solid for a band this far into their career with everything they've accomplished. Anything remotely...
Yeah, because Psycho Circus, the last thing they did before that, wasn't really that great of an album. I wanted it to be, but it wasn't. Monster had a far better batch of tunes than Psycho did.
Sonic Boom came after Psycho and before Monster, and that one wasn't even very good either.
No, it was actually kind of sad, and it started to make me think, and I went back and I kind of like revisited the old Kiss catalog, and I really took a time to look at the writing people involved, and if you think about it, a lot of the really big Kiss hits had really good songwriters behind them. You know, they had Desmond Child and guys like Bob Ezrin who were really helping make the best Kiss records that Kiss themselves, I don't think, could have made.
Exactly. You have to have some help, but I mean... with everything Kiss is doing, Monster was, like I said, for what the legacy Kiss has, you're not going to find most bands, unless it's like Stryper, that's going to release a record now that's lives up to what they've done in the past. Kiss somewhat did that with Monster, but they're still doing the restaurants and all that stuff while touring, while doing music, and at the same time, I mean, they haven't completely sold out yet, I guess. But
it's getting pretty ugly, and that's all Gene Simmons. He's a money-making machine, and you can hate him for it, but you got to give him credit for it. The man has found the way to trademark Kiss in such a way that he can make money off of it a million different ways, not just the music.
But I think he does still care about the music.
I hope. I think that there's a part of him that always will care.
Paul at least does, I think. Gene, not so much. Paul, I think, does a little bit. Paul seems like the nicer one out of the two of them, I think. Gene is like the asshole in the media, and Paul's like the, you know, the PR, politically correct dude, kind of, I think. But, I mean, at least they're still putting out quality music while doing all their sold-out, money-making things. So, you know... But then, of course, Vinnie Paul saying "Hell Yeah" is going to be greater and stronger than ever. Another one of those bands that they can be as good as they can be, but they're still fans are going to still want Pantera and Mudvayne out of the band, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
So, a lot going on in music right now, a lot going on in rock and metal. That's what we've got for this week. We'll be back in a week or two with more Rock Rebellion, more rock and metal news. Sound off in the comments. Let us know what you think. Subscribe for updates, and check us out at thefrontrowreport.com. Peace.